The sky above the mining moon of Archon 7 was dark and empty, filled only with the dim glow of distant stars. Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the colony platform, his boots planted firmly on the metal floor, as alarms screamed all around him. The people of Archon 7 had lived quietly for years, working the deep mines, sending minerals back to Earth and other colonies. They had always believed the Dominion would never come this far. They were wrong. The first sign of trouble had come only hours ago, when sensors picked up the approach of ships. At first, colonists thought it might be traders or Earth patrols. But the shapes were all wrong, sleek, sharp vessels with wings that glowed faint red in the void. The Velkari Dominion had arrived. Now the sky was filled with fire. Massive Dominion warships hung in orbit, launching smaller craft down toward the surface. The colony's few defense turrets tried to fight back, but they were no match for alien weapons. One turret exploded in a storm of sparks, throwing debris across the colony dome. Elias shouted over the comms, "Get the civilians to the lower levels." "Everyone move now!" Families rushed across the platforms, dragging children, carrying what little they could. The miners, strong but untrained for war, tried to help, but fear was in their eyes. They had no soldiers, no real defenses, only a few old rifles and the courage to stand. The first Dominion dropships landed outside the main dome. The doors slid open and tall figures stepped out. Their armor was black, their faces hidden behind sharp masks. They moved with the cold confidence of conquerors. The colonists gasped. Everyone had heard stories of the Velkari, but few had seen them in person. Elias clenched his fists. He had served in Earth's fleet years ago, but after his discharge he had taken a quiet post here, far from the core worlds. He had thought the colonies were safe. Now, watching alien soldiers march forward, he realized he had been wrong. "Captain," one of the miners called to him. "What do we do?" "We can't fight them." Elias looked at the families, the children crying, the old people stumbling as they tried to move faster. His heart burned with anger. "We hold them off as long as we can," he said. "We buy time." The miners nodded. They picked up their tools, drills, cutting torches, anything that could be used as a weapon. Elias grabbed an old rifle from the colony's armory. It was old, but it still fired. He took position near the entrance to the dome. The first clash was quick and brutal. Alien soldiers marched in, their rifles glowing with energy. The miners opened fire, a weak storm of bullets and sparks. The aliens answered with cold precision. Walls cracked, consoles burst into flames. Elias fired again and again, forcing one alien to fall back, but more came. Within minutes, the defenders were pushed back. Elias shouted for a retreat. They had to survive long enough for help to come. But as he pulled a wounded miner toward safety, he realized the truth. No help was coming. For weeks, Earth had been silent. Messages sent to the core worlds had received no reply. Colonists whispered that maybe Earth had already fallen, that the Dominion had struck deeper than anyone knew. The silence was heavy, like a weight pressing on every heart. As the aliens pushed deeper into the colony, Elias gave the order to seal the lower levels. Civilians were rushed underground, hidden in storage halls and maintenance shafts. The doors sealed shut, heavy locks falling into place. If they were lucky, some might survive until the aliens moved on. Elias stayed above, rifle in hand, watching as the Dominion soldiers planted their banners in the center of the colony. He saw one alien officer raise a communicator and laugh in its strange language. To them, this was nothing more than a small victory, a reminder that humans were weak. But Elias was not ready to give up. He pulled a small data chip from his pocket. Earlier, before the defense turrets had fallen, he had ordered the colony's computers to record everything: enemy ship designs, weapons fire, troop formations. It was all here, stored in this tiny chip. If he could get it off this moon, Earth would know what they were facing. He whispered to himself. Earth has to know. Earth must strike back. That night the colony burned. Fires spread through the domes and smoke rose toward the black sky. The Dominion moved quickly, enslaving survivors, loading them onto transports. Elias hid among the wreckage, moving silently, staying out of sight. He carried the chip close to his chest. He knew he could not save everyone, but he could carry a message. The next day, Elias slipped onto a supply shuttle, using his knowledge of old fleet codes to override its locks. With a roar of engines, the shuttle lifted into space. Behind him, Archon 7 lay in ruins. Ahead of him, the stars stretched wide. Somewhere out there, Earth was waiting. Somewhere humanity was preparing. But as Elias steered the shuttle toward deep space, fear gnawed at him. What if Earth really had fallen? What if the silence meant there was nothing left? He shook his head. No, he could not believe that. Humanity had always been stubborn, always risen when struck down. He remembered old stories of Earth's history. Wars survived, disasters endured, enemies defeated. Humanity had never bowed forever. As he set the shuttle on its course, Elias sent a single coded transmission into the void. A message short and clear: prepare the Armada. Humanity strikes back. The signal vanished into the darkness, racing faster than light toward hidden receivers. On distant moons and secret bases, old commanders and young recruits alike would see those words. Across colonies still free, whispers would rise again. Earth was silent for now, but not forever. And in the shadows of forgotten systems deep within hidden shipyards, great machines stirred. Engines that had been quiet for decades roared to life. Metal hulls the size of mountains gleamed as construction lights swept across them. Humanity had not been idle. Humanity had been preparing. The Dominion believed Earth was broken. They believed humanity was weak, but the silent sky above Arkan 7 held a different truth. The silence was not defeat. The silence was waiting, and soon the silence would end. The mining moon of Arkan 7 was gone. The Velkari Dominion raised its banners there, believing it had won another simple victory. To the Dominion, it was just one more colony taken from humans, another stone in their growing empire. But in the hidden corners of the galaxy, people whispered differently. Word spread that Captain Elias Ward had escaped, carrying with him proof of what the aliens had done. Nobody knew where he was now, but the idea alone that someone had fought, resisted, and survived lit small flames of hope. On a farming colony called Greenfield 3, a mechanic named Tessa Joran whispered the story to her brother while they fixed an old harvester. They say Earth has gone quiet but not dead. They say the fleet is moving. Her brother only shook his head, afraid to believe. Still, the whisper remained. On a station near a red dwarf star, a smuggler repeated the tale to his crew. The captain carried something, some message for Earth. And if Earth answers, the Dominion won't know what hit them. The crew laughed nervously, but one of them whispered back, I hope it's true. The Velkari soldiers heard the whispers too, though they laughed at them. To them, humans were a weak species. Their history was full of wars, yes, but also defeats. Their colonies were scattered, their fleets small. To the Velkari, humanity was nothing more than a nuisance. But the whispers grew louder. Meanwhile, Elias Ward's stolen shuttle cut through the darkness of space. Days passed as he moved from one safe lane to another, hiding from Dominion patrols. The data chip never left his hand. He studied the information again and again, ship counts, energy readings, fleet positions. The Dominion had spread itself wide, certain that no real enemy would challenge them. Elias knew the truth. If Earth had the strength to rise, this data could be the weapon that turned the war. One night, as the shuttle drifted past a barren asteroid belt, the ship's computer beeped. A signal blinked faintly on his display. At first, Elias thought it was just background noise. But the pattern repeated. It was not random. It was coded. His heart jumped. He entered old Terran fleet codes, ones he thought were forgotten. The signal cleared. Words appeared on his screen. This is Outpost Solace, identify. Elias took a deep breath. He had found them. The hidden Terran outpost whispered about in old fleet rumors. He typed quickly. Captain Elias Ward, Arkan 7 fallen. Dominion fleet numbers attached. Request safe harbor. There was silence for a long moment. Then the reply came. Docking coordinates attached. Welcome home, Captain. Elias set his course. Outpost Solace was hidden inside the husk of a dead moon, shielded from sensors. From the outside, it looked like nothing but rock. But as Elias guided his shuttle into a narrow tunnel, lights flickered on. Huge doors opened, revealing a hangar filled with Terran ships. Fighters, transports, and even cruisers stood ready, painted black to blend with the void. As his shuttle landed, a group of soldiers approached. Their uniforms were old but neat, their eyes sharp. At their head was Commander Rena Hale, a woman with iron gray hair and a voice that carried authority. Captain Ward, she said firmly, shaking his hand. We thought you were dead. Not yet, Elias answered, handing her the chip. but Arkan 7 is gone. The Dominion is spreading fast. You need to see this. Rena took the chip, her expression unreadable. Come with me. In the command chamber of the outpost, Elias watched as the data was loaded into massive screens. Fleet positions appeared, red dots filling the map. The officers around the table leaned forward, whispering. It's worse than we thought, one muttered. They've stretched themselves too thin, another countered. Rena looked at Elias. You've done well. This will help. Help? Elias asked. Commander, we're losing colonies every week. Where is Earth? Where is the fleet? Rena's eyes narrowed. For a moment, Elias feared she would not answer. But finally she leaned closer and said in a low voice, You've seen only the silence, but silence does not mean defeat. Earth has been building, preparing, you will see soon enough. Elias felt a chill. He wanted to believe her, but the silence had been long. Too long. Could Earth truly have the strength she hinted at? Across the galaxy, small acts of resistance continued. In the mines of Dravo 6, humans sabotaged Dominion machines, slowing production. On the trade routes near the Blue Rift Nebula, unknown ships attacked Dominion transports, stealing supplies before vanishing into the stars. The Velkari commanders grew suspicious. Reports piled in of ships destroyed by unknown attackers. Patrols went missing. Outposts were raided. Some suggested another alien empire was behind it. Others dismissed it as human rebels making trouble. But survivors told strange stories. They spoke of ships unlike any they had seen, sleek Terran destroyers with weapons far stronger than before. They appeared from nowhere, struck with precision, then vanished. One Dominion officer mocked the reports. Impossible. Humans cannot build such ships. Their worlds are too poor, their fleets too small. Yet the stories continued, and among enslaved colonists the whispers grew louder. They are coming. Earth remembers. The Armada wakes. Back at Outpost Solace, Elias trained with the soldiers, waiting for orders. He grew close to Commander Rena, who shared fragments of truth when she trusted him. Do you think Earth will answer? He asked one night, staring at the map of stars. Rena smiled faintly. Earth always answers. Sometimes late, sometimes silent, but always. You'll see. Not long after, a coded message arrived at the outpost. The officers gathered in silence as the transmission played. It was short, just a voice carried across the void. To all outposts, stand fast. The storm begins soon. The Armada moves. The soldiers in the room straightened. Elias felt his heart race. The words echoed through him like fire. The Armada. It was real. For the first time since Arkan 7, Elias believed. Meanwhile, the Dominion High Council met in their grand chambers. Alien leaders stood around a massive table reviewing reports of lost ships. It is only scattered resistance, one said. Humans cannot rise again, said another. They have no fleets, but the youngest among them, a sharp-eyed strategist, frowned. You underestimate them. Silence does not always mean weakness. Sometimes it means waiting. The others laughed. But in his heart, the strategist felt unease. Elias spent the next weeks training harder, preparing for what was to come. He knew the Armada was real now, somewhere out there, gathering. He dreamed of vast fleets hidden among dead stars, of shipyards working day and night, of engines waiting to roar. When he closed his eyes, he could almost see it. Thousands of ships rising together, filling the sky with steel. The whispers had grown stronger. From colony to colony, from station to station, people carried the words like fire in the dark. They are coming. And though Elias still remembered the smoke of Arkan 7, though he still carried the pain of loss, he now carried something else too. Hope. Because deep in the silence, he had heard the truth. Earth was not broken. Earth was preparing. And when Earth struck, the galaxy would never forget. The Velkari Dominion believed it had broken the humans. After all, colony after colony had fallen, and the silence from Earth gave them confidence. To them, silence meant surrender. But out in the far reaches of space, the silence was starting to break in strange ways. Dominion patrols began to vanish. At first, commanders dismissed the reports. Space was vast and accidents happened. Ships struck by rogue asteroids, engines failing in deep void. But soon the losses grew too many, too frequent, and too sharp to be accidents. On the Dominion outpost of GalacticPrime, a supply officer reviewed reports with shaking hands. 5 patrols gone in 3 weeks. Entire crews missing. No distress calls. He turned to his commander. Something is hunting us. The commander scoffed. Do you think these humans can hunt? They run, they hide, they beg. They do not strike, but even as he spoke, alarms sounded. Outside in the black sky, strange ships appeared, small, fast, and deadly. They were human. On the hidden moon base of Outpost Solace, Captain Elias Ward prepared with the others. The training was different now. They were no longer waiting. They were striking. He stood beside Commander Rena Hale as she gave orders to the pilots. You will not fight like the Dominion. You will not march in lines, you will not boast of power. You will strike like shadows. Hit, vanish, strike again. Leave no trace but fear. The pilots saluted. Their ships were small destroyers and corvettes built for speed, not for open battles. They carried weapons far beyond what Dominion expected. Plasma cannons, rail drivers, and advanced stealth systems. All of it had been built in secret, far from prying eyes. Elias watched as the first squadron launched. Their engines lit briefly, then vanished into silence as cloaking systems engaged. The ships melted into the void. They won't see us coming, Rena whispered. Far across the galaxy, a Dominion fleet of 3 cruisers and 6 escorts moved through a quiet sector. The commander of the fleet leaned back in his chair, bored. Another useless patrol, he said. Humans are too afraid to show their faces. Then suddenly alarms screamed. A shadow moved across their sensors, too fast, too sharp. Before they could react, one of their escorts exploded into fire. The bridge shook as debris rattled against their shields. Where did that come from? The commander shouted. Another shadow passed, and a second escort tore apart in flames. The Dominion fleet turned weapons wildly, firing into empty space. But the attackers were gone, slipping away. Then they struck again from the other side. It was not a battle. It was a hunt. Within minutes, the Dominion cruisers were burning, their escorts shattered. The last thing survivors saw before their ships went dark was the silhouette of a Terran destroyer, its hull painted with simple words, Earth remembers. Back at Outpost Solace, Elias received the reports. He felt a strange mix of pride and sorrow. Pride because humanity was fighting back at last. Sorrow because he knew this was only the beginning. He joined Rena in the command room. It's working, she said, her voice calm but fierce. They thought we were gone. Now they fear us, Elias nodded. But they'll strike back harder. They will, Rena agreed. And that's why we don't fight openly. Not yet, we fight from the shadows. We remind them that Earth is not finished. That Earth waits. The stories spread faster than Dominion propaganda could contain them. In the slave camps of Dravo 6, miners whispered of Terran destroyers appearing out of nowhere. On Greenfield 3, farmers painted the words Earth remembers on the sides of barns, daring the Dominion soldiers to see. Even among neutral alien species, curiosity grew. Some had doubted humanity before, calling them reckless and fragile, but now they saw humans fighting back with cunning, not just courage. Perhaps, one alien merchant said, the humans were only pretending weakness. Perhaps their silence was a blade being sharpened. Elias himself went on his first strike weeks later. His ship, the Resolute, was a newly built corvette with advanced stealth plating. He and his crew moved silently through the dark until they reached their target, a Dominion supply convoy. Remember, Elias told his crew, fast and clean. We take what we need, we leave nothing but fear. The Resolute slipped close, hidden by its cloak. When the Dominion ships realized they were under attack, it was already too late. The convoy burned, their cargo taken. The Resolute vanished into the stars before enemy reinforcements could arrive. Back in the mess hall of Outpost Solace, Elias's crew laughed and cheered for the first time in months. For a moment, hope replaced fear. The Dominion grew more desperate. Commanders ordered tighter patrols, more ships in every sector. But no matter how many fleets they sent, the attacks continued. An admiral of the Dominion slammed his fist against the table during a council meeting. This is no rebellion. This is organized. Someone is guiding them. Someone powerful, another alien sneered. Earth has no such power. The admiral glared. Then why do our ships keep burning? One night, Elias walked through the silent hangar of Outpost Solace. Hundreds of ships rested there, waiting for orders. Some were small fighters, others were massive cruisers still being built. He stopped before a battleship under construction. Its hull was incomplete, but even in this state it looked enormous. Workers moved like ants across its surface, welding steel, installing weapons. Commander Rena joined him. Impressive, isn't it? It's more than I expected, Elias admitted. How many ships are we building? Rena smiled faintly but did not answer. Enough, her silence told him more than words. This was only one outpost. There must be others hidden across the stars. The scale of what Earth was building began to dawn on him. As the weeks passed, the strikes continued. Each time Dominion fleets fell faster. Each time the words Earth remembers spread wider. Elias saw it in the eyes of the colonists rescued from camps. When Terran ships arrived, they cried and cheered. They had believed Earth was gone, but now they knew Earth was coming back. The Dominion tried to stop the whispers, but whispers are stronger than fear at last. Elias was called into a private meeting with Commander Rena. The room was dim, screens glowing faintly with maps of the galaxy. You've done well, she said. You've carried the flame from Archon 7, but now you must see more. What do you mean? Elias asked. Rena touched a control. The screens changed, showing vast regions of space. Dots appeared, white dots, not red. Thousands of them. Elias stared. Are those ships? Rena nodded slowly. Only part of them. Shipyards hidden beyond the edge of maps. Dreadnoughts, carriers, cruisers. For decades, Earth has been building. The Armada is real, Elias's breath caught. He had dreamed of it, imagined it, but to see it, even a fraction, was overwhelming. Rena's voice was firm. The shadows are only the beginning. Soon the galaxy will see the full light of Earth's power. When the Armada moves, the stars themselves will burn. Elias closed his eyes, feeling the weight of her words. The whispers had been true. Earth was not only fighting back, it was preparing for something greater, something vast. The shadows of Earth had been seen. Soon the storm would follow. The galaxy had begun to whisper a new name, Earth. Once underestimated, once dismissed as a young, weak world, humanity was no longer hidden in the shadows. The Dominion had begun to notice that their patrols vanished mysteriously, supply convoys burned, and colonies erupted in rebellion without warning. Yet they still believed it was nothing more than small, scattered attacks. They did not know the full truth. In the hidden depths of space, outposts like Solace were just a fraction of the human presence. Terran engineers and commanders moved tirelessly, expanding fleets, building ships of every size and installing the latest technology far beyond what the Dominion could imagine. Massive construction yards orbited dead stars, cloaked and shielded from prying eyes. Captain Elias Ward walked through one of the largest yards. It was a cathedral of steel and fire. Battleships, cruisers, and carriers stretched for kilometers, all in various stages of construction. Crew members worked day and night, their movements precise, their voices quiet but determined. Commander Rena Hale approached him, her eyes scanning the yard with pride. This is only one of the hidden yards, she said. There are others, more than the Dominion could ever imagine, and soon every one of them will rise together. Elias stopped before a massive dreadnought hull. Even incomplete, it was a mountain of metal and power. How can we hide all of this? He asked. Rena smiled faintly. Stealth, secrecy, patience. The Dominion looks for strength where they expect it. They never think a world as small as ours could build something like this. Elias shook his head, amazed. They'll never see it coming. They won't, Rena said. And that is when we strike. The Dominion, however, was starting to feel the first prickles of fear. Reports continued to pour in. Fleets destroyed by unseen attackers, colonies freed seemingly overnight, and the repeated appearance of human ships in unexpected sectors. Admiral Varkos, a high-ranking Velkari commander, slammed his claws on a control panel. This is impossible. They have no fleets. No fleet should be able to move like this. A younger strategist, sharp and alert, replied cautiously. Perhaps Earth has been hiding them. Perhaps they waited for the right moment. Varkos turned sharply. Impossible. Humans are small, weak, they cannot prepare an armada across the stars, and yet he could not deny the growing dread in his chest. Something large, unseen, and terrifying was gathering. Back at Outpost Solace, Elias and Rena gathered all captains for a briefing. The room was crowded with maps, models, and diagrams of ships and fleets. Every officer knew the stakes were high. The Dominion has grown careless, Rena said. They believe humans are broken, silent, weak. That is their mistake. Our fleets are ready. We have waited long. We have hidden our strength, and soon we will act. Elias stepped forward. Commander, what do we do now? Do we strike immediately? Rena shook her head. No, not yet. First, we must gather every resource, every ship, every crew. The Dominion must see only our shadows. The first real strike will be more than a raid. It will be a declaration. The room fell silent. The idea of a full human armada, hidden and ready, seemed almost too large to imagine, and yet all of them had heard the whispers. Earth remembers. Elias returned to his ship, the Resolute, and looked out into the black void. For months he had seen the results of small strikes, the flickers of hope in enslaved colonies, the panic in Dominion ranks. But now, standing before the full construction yards, he understood that this was bigger than anything he had imagined. He ran his hand over the console. All these ships unwaiting, all this fire, hidden, and they think we are weak. The thought brought a smile to his face. He had fought for years, but now the real war had not yet begun. Weeks passed, and the human shadow strikes grew bolder. Coordinated raids struck multiple Dominion fleets at once. Convoys were destroyed, resources stolen, and communication lines severed. Every attack was precise, leaving no survivors to tell the Dominion the size of the force. The Velkari were confused, frustrated, and angry. They still believed they controlled the galaxy. Yet everywhere they turned, human ships appeared and vanished like ghosts. In one battle near the Cernath Belt, a Dominion squadron moved to intercept what they thought was a small rebel fleet. Instead, they were ambushed by Terran destroyers. In minutes, 3 cruisers were destroyed, their escorts scattered. Survivors whispered of a massive dreadnought appearing briefly in the distance, then disappearing. "Do you see now?" Rena asked Elias after the report. "The Dominion thinks in small numbers. They do not see the full scale." "Not yet," Elias nodded. "They are afraid, and soon they will be terrified." Human colonies, inspired by the secret raids, began to resist openly. They formed militias, sabotaged Dominion installations, and spread rumors of the approaching armada. Every act of defiance, small as it might seem, was a spark lighting a galaxy-wide fire. On Greenfield 3, Tessa Joran worked late in her workshop. She was assembling small weapons and communication devices for the local militia. Her brother leaned over, shaking his head. "Do you think it will help?" Tessa smiled, determined. "It will. Earth is coming. And when Earth comes, no one will be the same." In the Dominion Council chambers, the panic grew. Admiral Varkos paced, claws clicking against the floor. Reports of destroyed fleets were no longer scattered. They were consistent, precise, overwhelming. "How many ships do they have?" Varkos demanded. The strategist spoke cautiously. "We cannot know, but their attacks suggest a fleet far larger than any one colony could produce. Perhaps even thousands of ships." Varkos froze. The word hung in the room like fire. "Thousands?" "Yes, Admiral," the strategist said quietly. "And they are all coordinated. Someone is commanding them, from somewhere." The Velkari leaders exchanged uneasy looks. For the first time, they realized the possibility that humans had been hiding their true strength all along. At Outpost Solace, Elias and Rena stood before the fleet assembly. Hundreds of ships moved under their control, each one a silent promise of what was to come. Engineers worked on massive dreadnoughts and carriers. Pilots trained tirelessly, perfecting maneuvers that would allow them to strike like lightning. Rena placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. "The time is coming. Soon the galaxy will see the truth. Earth is not broken. Earth never kneels. And Earth will strike back with everything it has." Elias looked out at the fleet. His heart swelled with pride and determination. The shadows of Earth had already begun their work. The Dominion had felt only small echoes. Soon they would face the full storm. And in the hidden corners of space where alien spies thought no one could see, fleets were moving. Terran ships slipped silently through uncharted lanes, assembling, organizing, waiting. The human armada was growing, preparing to rise from the shadows and remind the galaxy what Earth truly represented. Whispers spread among the enslaved colonies. "They are coming. Earth remembers. And when it comes, the stars will burn with their fire." The Dominion could still fight back, still strike at small human fleets, but they could not stop the gathering storm. Not anymore, and on the front lines of hidden war, Captain Elias Ward and Commander Rena Hale prepared for the moment when the silence would end, and the full force of Earth would rise, because the galaxy had only seen shadows so far. Soon the light of humanity would explode across the stars. Every colony, every outpost, every enslaved settlement had heard the rumors, the whispers, the tales of human ships striking from nowhere. But now the galaxy would see the truth. The Velkari Dominion had concentrated its fleets near the Terran core systems, determined to crush any human resistance before the rumored armada could rise. Over 300 cruisers, destroyers, and escorts moved in formation, confident, arrogant. They had never feared humans. They still did not. But across the dark void, in hidden lanes and cloak stations, humanity waited. Over 12,000 ships hidden for decades now prepared to move as one. Battleships with shields stronger than any known in the galaxy, carriers brimming with fighters, cruisers armed with devastating energy weapons, all hidden from Dominion sensors until this moment. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Resolute, his eyes scanning the immense fleet arrayed before him. Hundreds of miles stretched into the void with ships ready, engines humming, weapons charged. Pilots, engineers, and soldiers all stood in silence, knowing the moment had come. Commander Rena Hale stepped beside him. "Are you ready?" she asked, calm and fierce. Elias nodded. "It's time." "Then let us remind the galaxy who we are," Rena said. The signal came. From Earth, hidden behind the edge of the Sol system, a message broadcast across the galaxy. To all who doubt humanity, the Armada rises. Earth remembers. The strike has begun. The Dominion intercepted it but could not identify the source. The voice was clear, calm, and filled with authority. The Valkyrie commanders exchanged confused glances. They had assumed silence meant weakness. Now they realized their mistake. And then, out of hyperspace, the first Terran ships appeared. It started with squadrons of corvettes and destroyers, small but fast-striking Dominion supply lines, scattering fleets and sowing chaos. The Dominion responded quickly, but every move they made was anticipated. Terran pilots darted through asteroid belts and nebulae, using terrain and stealth to their advantage. Then the larger ships arrived, cruisers, carriers, dreadnoughts. One by one they appeared on the edges of Dominion fleets, their weapons blazing. Plasma cannons lit the void like lightning. Rail guns tore through hulls and boarding parties struck like ghosts. Dominion crews had never faced anything like this. Battleships that dwarfed their own vessels moved with precision and coordination impossible to anticipate. One Dominion admiral muttered, "They are everywhere." The galaxy had never seen an armada like this. 12,000 Terran ships now moved as one, an unstoppable force, proving that Earth had been preparing in silence, hidden, for decades. Elias led the first strike group, flying through a cluster of Dominion cruisers. His ship, the Resolute, darted past energy blasts, firing back with pinpoint accuracy. He could see the fear in the Dominion pilots' eyes. They had underestimated humans for the last time. Beside him, Rena commanded a larger fleet. Her dreadnoughts opened fire, destroying multiple enemy ships with each salvo. The Dominion fleet, once confident, began to collapse under the sudden, overwhelming assault. From the battle, survivors whispered of the sight. A massive formation of human ships stretching across the stars, their black hulls gleaming, weapons blazing, and engines lighting the void like fire. "This is not just a strike," one Dominion officer said. "This is a declaration. Humanity is alive. Humanity is everywhere, and they are united." On colonies that had long lived under Dominion rule, humans watched in awe. Hidden resistance forces guided incoming Terran ships to their sectors, and for the first time in decades, enslaved people were free. Families reunited. Miners and farmers armed themselves, and small militias joined the fight. The Dominion tried to fight back, concentrating their fleets, calling reinforcements from other sectors. But each attempt failed. The Terran armada moved with a precision the Dominion could not anticipate. Ships appeared from hyperspace, struck and disappeared before counterattacks could reach them. Every encounter left the Dominion fleet smaller, weaker, terrified. Elias could hear the reports through the comms. One by one, entire squadrons surrendered, their crews unable to fight against the overwhelming force. "It's working," he whispered to himself. Then the moment came, the full armada. From hidden star systems, massive dreadnoughts and carriers emerged, their hulls stretching miles, weapons ready, engines ignited. The sky and space was filled with Terran steel and fire. The Dominion fleet, once vast and proud, was dwarfed. A Dominion admiral stared at the sight, disbelief in his eyes. "Impossible," he muttered. "No species could build this." Elias, watching from the Resolute, felt a surge of pride and anger. "This is who we are," he said softly. "We do not kneel. We do not beg. And we never forget." The battle escalated. Massive energy blasts tore through cruisers. Entire fleets dissolved under relentless Terran fire. Fighters swarmed Dominion ships, disabling engines, cutting communications, and boarding vessels. The Armada was not just strong, it was clever, coordinated, and relentless. Every strike carried a message, carved into wreckage left in the void. Earth remembers. It spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Wherever survivors of the Dominion watched, the words inspired fear and hope among humans. Colonies liberated in the first wave cheered. Resistance fighters joined the Terran ranks. Every freed world became a new point of strength for the human fleet. The galaxy was shifting, one system at a time. Elias's Resolute moved toward the center of the Dominion command fleet. The largest of the enemy ships, a massive battlecruiser, towered above the others. Its shields were strong, but human weapons were stronger. "Target the command cruiser." Rena's voice came through the comms. "All firepower. No mistakes." The Resolute fired first, striking the shields with a concentrated rail blast. Other Terran ships followed. The command cruiser trembled, shield generators flickering under repeated hits. Boarding teams deployed, striking with precision, overwhelming Dominion soldiers. The command ship fell. The Dominion fleet, now leaderless and in chaos, began to scatter. Resistance and fear spread through the remaining alien forces. Elias watched the final moments of the battle. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, but now they knew. Earth was not silent. Earth was not weak. Earth was unstoppable. When the battle ended, the Terran Armada regrouped in orbit above a liberated system. 12,000 ships stretched across space, each one a monument to preparation, courage, and unity. Colonists cheered from orbiting stations, watching the greatest display of human power the galaxy had ever seen. Commander Rena Hale spoke across the fleet. "Let this day be remembered. To all who doubted, to all who oppressed our people, this is Earth, this is our strength, and humanity will always strike back." Elias looked out into the endless expanse, seeing the stars glimmer behind 12,000 ships. He thought of Archon 7, of the sacrifices, of the whispering hope that had carried him across space, and he knew without doubt that humanity had not only survived, they had proven that Earth's spirit could never be broken. The galaxy would remember this day forever. And as the Terran ships moved forward to liberate more systems, a single truth echoed through every human heart and every corner of space. If humanity is struck, it will always strike back. Earth will never kneel. The Armada had risen. The Dominion had fallen back. And the galaxy had seen the full might of Earth for the first time. The storm was over, but the light of humanity had just begun to shine.